Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? I'm here making another video. I wanted to talk about parenting today because I think that a lot of people, especially being, again, this is a channel primarily for men, a lot of young men right there right now in this millennial generation are really struggling, and I think a lot of it is due to really poor parenting, and I wanted to just give my thoughts about this. First and foremost, you know, I'm a millennial. I'm 31, but I'll be 32 in a week, or whatever, a little over a week. And you know, I've had a lot of different types of jobs, and I've been a personal trainer. I've been a bartender. I worked in the real estate industry, dog training. And for every one of those jobs, I've had to get a certification. I've had to prove that I knew something about what I was doing, that I had received a certain amount of training for each one of those jobs, right? And I agree with that, because I think that to do any sort of profession or any skilled position, you should be trained, and you should have a certain standard, a certain level of training to what you're doing. But so any profession, you know, a nurse has to get a degree, go through board exams, state board exams, a chiropractor, a dentist, an attorney, a lawyer, a therapist, a massage therapist, a personal trainer, a yoga teacher, right? A dietitian, right? Everybody has an electrician, a plumber, right? So we all have these certifications that nobody bats an eye, nobody disagrees with. Yet people have kids with no qualifications. They have kids with no training. They've gone through no schooling. They have no credentials, no certifications. The only thing that certifies them is the fact that they fucked somebody and had a kid. There's no genetic screening required. No looking up family lineages that's required. It's insanity, if you ask me. And what's unique about my generation is that we have a lot of this information readily available to us. So we do not have excuses to be shitty parents. And, you know, I being that, you know, this is my channel, and that I want to be, I want to really, you know, use my own life as, kind of a example. I'm gonna put a shirt on because I'm kind of getting cold. I want to use this as an example to illustrate what I'm trying to say. So, you know, a lot of young men, or a lot of kids in general, are raised to fit a box. They're raised to fit a certain standard. You know, and my parents used the word mainstream. They wanted me to be mainstream. And so that basically meant fitting into a box, fitting into a preconceived notion of what I needed to be. And really the things that I was interested in, that meant a lot to me, was not only pushed aside, but was rejected. You know, I wanted to have, you know, badass dogs. I wanted to have Rottweilers and Dobermans and learn and train dogs. I wanted to get into guns. I wanted to get into paintball. I wanted to build tree houses, you know, like things. I wanted to go camping and learn how to go hunting, and, you know, which I personally believe is what traditional masculinity is more about. You know what I mean? Like working with animals, being outside, building things, you know, martial arts, like, and so most of these things my parents not only did not support, but they railed on me for, right? So, and then they kept trying to push me into this box that really wasn't what I wanted to do. So what this ends up doing is this causes the kid to hate the parent, right? Because the parent is essentially, what they're doing is they're denying who that kid is, right? It's my belief that we're all different, and we all have unique gifts, and we all have endowed to us a personality that lends itself to certain, you know, attributes, certain strengths, certain weaknesses. And like when those things aren't supported, the child and what the child is being forced to be isn't who that child is. The child invariably feels like there's something wrong with him, that he's fucked up, that he's defected. You know, why can't I sit still in math class? It's like, maybe because I don't give a fuck about geometry, because I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to, you know, I don't fucking care. I want to be outside. I want to be, you know, or I want to be learning about history. You know, I don't care about math. And, you know, it causes the kid to think there's something wrong with him because he's not measuring up to this standard that's being put on him, right? And you got to remember, no child ever asks to be born. Parents are the ones who bring children into this world, right? It's not the other way around. So, you know, I personally think that it's really, really cruel to try to force a child to be in some sort of a box, you know. And really that's why I think at some point, you know, being on this red pill journey, you know, it's not just about women. It's not just about standing up to women. It's not just about standing our ground and not being taken advantage of, and understanding female nature and understanding the societal implications of, you know, that we live in a gynocentric world and that the laws are slanted against men. Like that's all true, and I support all that. I'll fight with you guys for that. But I think what's not being talked about on this channel, but I think it's very relevant, is standing up to your family. Is standing up to your family of origin, is standing up to the false beliefs and false expectations and false preconceived notions that were put upon you as a child, because they were put upon you by parents that did not know what the fuck they were doing. And quite frankly, their ignorance robbed you of a happy childhood. Now, that's not to say you cannot live a happy life in the future, but it is to say that, you know, a lot of I'm just going to speak for myself and a lot of other people that I know, a lot of the hardships that were really experienced had to do with not being supported, and just like being in a situation where we were just put down for who we were. And a lot of it, you know, if you didn't grow up in a rural country kind of atmosphere, you know, a lot of suburban parents, upper middle class professional suburban parents, are trying to make carbon copies of their kids, because to those people, you know, the yuppies, their goal, their whole existence is predicated upon living vicariously through their kids. You know, they want to brag about their kids to other parents because, in essence, it's a competition as to whose kid gets better grades, whose kid goes to a better school, and whose kid inevitably will be more successful. And that's a really, really sick thing to do, but that's what these parents do, right? So, and what they're thinking about, how am I going to get this kid? How is this kid going to be a successful doctor, lawyer, engineer, pharmacist, accountant? You know, not to say there's anything wrong with any of those professions. There's not. They're needed. They're valuable. But it is to say that like, those are beaten paths. Those are square-ass lives. That's not, like, a lot of people could be great entrepreneurs if they were only supported in what they wanted to do, in their passion. They were supported in what they were interested in. I mean, look, like, for me, I love these dogs. And that's why I call myself the Doberman philosopher, because I identify with that breed. Had I been supported in that endeavor, I mean, who knows? I mean, if, you know, I would have had 10, 15 years more experience than I have now. So what I'm saying is, like, you know, because parents want their kids to be what they want the kid to be, not who the kid wants to be. And and you've got to understand that distinction if you're going to be a parent, because if you fuck that up, you're going to have kids who inevitably are going to hate you, because you're not good enough for in the child's eyes. You've rejected them. That's what you've done. So I wanted just to make this video because, I mean, I know a lot of guys my age are having kids now. I'm not. I don't plan on having kids anytime soon, because I believe I have a lot of growing up to do. I believe I have a lot of personal growth that I need to go through, and I don't want the distraction of a child or anybody else's child for that matter. So, you know, I'm here just to share my thoughts, just to share my life experience, and to just, you know, encourage people to be better fathers, and encourage people to you know, not deny who their kid is. You know, your kid has no obligation to make you happy. You know, your kid did not ask to be born. He did not ask for you to be his father. You brought him in the world. And it's your responsibility to support him and help cultivate an environment in which he's going to be happy and fulfilled. And that's my message today. So I could go on and on and on about it. This is something I'm very passionate about. But and this really relates, and I mean, I could tie it into Red Pill, but I know it doesn't really have too much to do with women. But you know, if you wanted to and I will make a video about that, but a lot of the reasons why we struggle with women are because of things that we were taught by our fathers, or behaviors that we saw our fathers do in relations to women. And that, you know, has a direct impact on our subconscious mind, and on what our instincts and our behavioral patterns become with relation to women, right? So we have to really understand where this all comes from, because family of origin is something that I think we all need to take a look at. Right? And like I said, unless you were raised in like a very traditional, you know, or maybe a more conservative family where, you know, the man was a man and woman was a woman, and like there was a clear distinction, and, you know, you were hunting with your dad at 6 years old, and, you know, you were building things and learning how to fight, and, you know, you were raised in a very, you know, what I would say a very holistic, natural way for a young boy to grow up into a man. And a lot of us, especially in the suburbs or even in urban areas, just didn't have that kind of an upbringing. Our fathers had been domesticated. there is a social contract. And that social contract basically said that you will give up a large part of your autonomy in exchange for the security of the greater system of society. And that can be another video too, but I'm not going to get too much more into that because I don't want to make these videos too long. But those are just some of my thoughts. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. You know, and I say this, I want to be as real as possible with you guys. You know, I want to be just as real as possible so that not only for you guys, but for me too, because it's good for me to be able to talk about these things, you know, and get them off my chest, and so that, you know, I'm not carrying all this weight around, you know. And I think that a lot of us are carrying it around, but, you know, we don't really know how to or where to say that. So, but it needs to be said nonetheless. So that's my video. All right, I'm out.